Okay, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's going on, guys? Good morning, Dan. Saturday morning, and we're gonna do a Ryan. Should be able to get to your stuff soon, Ryan. If you so now we got that Nissan figured out. I can get that out of the shop and get yours in if you still want me to do it. Monsieur Professionnel, good morning. Riley, good morning. Had somebody give me a call last night. It's a subscriber here on the channel, and that's the story we're going to talk about this morning without using his name or anything like that. We talked on the phone for 2 hours and 48 minutes to figure out the problem that was going on with his vehicle. Pretty crazy. I got myself in trouble for it too because I was on the phone for too long, and I guess we had some kind of event we were supposed to go to, and I didn't really know about the event, but I wasn't paying attention, and I was more apt to help this guy get his broken down car running and his wife her vehicle back. So she was happy. And where can you get a used good engine? Any major, or yeah, LKQ. I think LKQ is the best used engine people because they've always put out a good product and test them, make sure they're good. Hey, Bob. Yeah, Dan. The weird thing was like even though I took everybody along the journey with Mark. Hello. Good morning. Um, Yesterday with figuring out what that was, there was still people that complained about it. Like afterwards, I had a few messages on that video, and they're like, "Oh, a minute and 48 seconds. That's too long for us to be waiting for you to walk away and grab tools and grab this and grab that." I'm like, guys, I don't understand the complaining. I don't. You're getting free information here, and you don't even have to watch it. And there was like 3 or 4 people that popped up on the channel that are subscribed to the channel, and they're like complaining about something that they don't even have to watch. I don't get it. How many miles will a second gen Coyote motor go with good maintenance? I mean, I've seen them with over 100,000 miles on them. I mean, there's no, you can put miles on them. They're just a noisy motor. That's it. Our dealership techs are limited. Limited to what? What do you think that dealership techs are limited to? I'm not limited to anything. I don't. I don't understand what you mean by that. You didn't explain very much, so that leaves the mind to start imagining all kinds of things that could be good and bad. I think some of the problem is whenever we go live stream and whenever it's done, uh, people that watch the video afterwards don't know that it was a live stream unless they look for how the video was uploaded. They think it was just a regular video, so when they start watching it, they're like, "How come I just watched an hour and 48 minutes, but 28 or 30 of those was you going to try to find stuff while everybody?" Well, that's the beauty of this is because everybody was in here talking and communicating with each other. It's kind of like a little club where everybody say, "Hey, how are you, Charlie? Hey, how are you, Chris? What's going on, Bill?" And during that time, everybody communicates. There's technicians that come on here. Sometimes there's 250, 300 people on here at one time. And there's a lot of techs that can help people, and a lot of DIY guys or people in specialty fields that can help people, and they all chat while there's intermission going on. So that's the good part about that when you're live. Um, So, gentlemen, let me go back to comments real quick. 2014 transmission issues. They did have some issues. Uh, it's a dirty transmission. You know, it's a transmission that once you put 60, 70,000 miles on it, you might start noticing issues. But the problem with a lot of the transmission issues that people have is they don't over maintenance them. They maintenance them at what the manufacturers tell them that they can make maintenance them at, and then they fail. And the manufacturers are only telling you that you have minimal maintenance on these new vehicles because they want to sell you the vehicle. That's literally it. Ford themselves, Ford Corporate Quick Lane, literally was at my dealership, and I said, I recommend this interval, this interval, this interval, this interval. And the guy looked at me and he was like, wow, you have all that in your head and you remember all that? I was like, yeah, that's what I do. I'm, I'm religious by that. And he was like, that's phenomenal because that's what we really should be doing stuff at. And I said, I understand the reason the manufacturer themselves, and these are people from corporate that are training the quick lane to be more efficient and not finding the issues that's wrong with people's cars. Looking at this, specking that, trying to look at tread wear pattern and stuff and what it could be before it goes to a technician to maybe further let the customer know what they could possibly need. And I said, I told him straight to his face, I know why Ford does that. I know why Nissan and Toyota and everybody does that. They do that because they want people to feel like they don't have to maintenance a vehicle and they're more apt to buy it. And the guy looked at me and said, that's absolutely what it is. It has nothing to do with that transmission can literally go 100,000 miles without service. Not that at all. They want to sell it. Maybe on the long end, right before that transmission is about to fail, sure, it can go 100,000, 150,000 miles. Or a non-serviceable PTU fluid, that's all a bunch of hogwash. They do that because they want people to feel like they don't have to service these things, so they're going to buy it because people are just downright lazy. They don't want to service their vehicles. Well, you're working on one brand of vehicle, so a lot may be different from other vehicles. I mean, you only see some of the stuff that I'm working on. I'm sure you weren't live streaming yesterday when we were pulling apart 2018 Nissan NV 3500. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a Nissan specialist, but do you know how many dealerships I called to see if they wanted to work on this thing, and not a damn one of them had a certified heavy-duty Nissan tech to work on it? So you got to do what you got to do. Just be, and I'll tell you something else right now. When you have a factory trained technician that's been doing it for years, just because he only knows how to work on Fords doesn't mean he's not good at turning something up, bringing something else in and tearing into it. You know how many Chevy vehicles I work on? How many used cars I have to get fixed? Things that don't go through the factory. So it's almost like I end up being an independent guy for a job, I should say, for a single job every once in a while. But then sometimes it turns into car after car after car. It's not a Ford. Sometimes people bring their Chevys to us, they bring their Nissans to us, they bring their Toyotas to us because they only want us to do their work. There's a guy religiously that brings his Escalade, his Tahoe, and his Silverado because they're all GM family to our dealership because he likes the way we service their vehicle versus the Chevy dealer next door because he thinks they're all jerks to him. So he only comes to us. There was a time where he came in and the oil pressure wasn't reading on the dash, and I was like, I know what it is. Just go ahead. I'll have it done in about 45 minutes. It's about an hour and a half pay job, but I've done enough of these to where I already know what it is, and just lay across the top of the engine and fish an extension and ratchet down below it on the back of the intake manifold. Spin the oil pressure sensor right out of there. Take my pick and hook the little screen in the bottom of the block. Pull it out. Spray it all out real good. Drop it back in. Get a new oil pressure sensor from next door, screw it in, fire the vehicle right up, oil pressure comes right up on the dash, he's good to go. I mean, I've done enough aftermarket stuff or stuff outside of Ford to where I'm pretty good with most vehicles overall. The diagnosis is almost the same. Not everything's the same, sure. Not all the technology is the same. But there's not a lot I can't do when it comes to brand new vehicles. Or just the same principles from all the different multiplexing systems online and stuff like that. There's limited? I wouldn't say we're limited. There's a lot of stuff we can do that independent guys can't do because they don't get the knowledge that we get, and they don't get to see the issues up front that we get. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm fixing that independent guys have attempted to fix on new vehicles that they don't know how to do, that I end up fixing because they've never had the experience to do it. There's a lot of stuff computer wise where they'll install like a power steering assembly, but yet they don't have the tools and stuff to program it, and it has to come to the dealer for me to get everything situated because they don't have all the information to do it. So it's a wash, really. I rely on independent guys for things that I haven't done before. I can reach out and I can put out a message and say, hey guys, at the independent shops or whatever, can you help me out with this, because I've never done this before, and they almost every time have an answer for me. Or they'll reach out to me and say, hey, I'm putting in this power steering rack, or I'm putting in this short block in this 1.5 liter EcoBoost. Is it necessary for me to put the dowels back in the bell housing because I forgot to order them? Yes, it is. Put the dowels back in the bell housing because you will crack the transmission. You'll get little cracks. You'll crack the flywheel. You'll crack the transmission housing. Okay, so where I got off track here. Um, do I have a video on trailer brake controller not working when engaging brakes? I don't have that. I've never had anybody come to me after I've installed the trailer brake controller and say that it's not working. I've seen people install the trailer brake controller themselves and then not go into the computer and actually turn on the functionality of the trailer brake controller. And I've seen the trailer brake controller through programming get turned off somehow, and I have to go back into the personality of the vehicle and then make sure the trailer brake controller is turned on, enabled, and then the actual readout on the screen for your gain is turned on as well. Because you can turn the trailer brake controller on, it work completely fine, but you get no gain readout on your dash. And you have to turn both of them on. Some you can turn them on, some you can't turn on the little reading. But you can turn on the trailer brake controller on almost every one of the vehicles. You're going to work on a Camry? No way. Camrys don't need work. They say they run forever. But so do those older Tahoes as well. They run forever. 400,000 miles. Get tons of mileages. Tons of miles out of them old Tahoes. If you can own any year F-250, which one would you pick for longevity? I like the F-250s with, of course, I'm always going to say the 7.3, the older one. But if you're looking for a newer body style, I think anything past 2011, even up till today, the F-250 with the 6.2 liter in it, or the 7.3 liter, the new one, love them. 2000, I love the 2011 on body style because they started to get sportier and a little bit more aggressive looking. And the 6.2 liter was just a bulletproof type engine. You know, every once in a while you might have a valve spring or something go on it, and it's easy to fix. Not even that big a deal. How much did you pay for your Mustang wheels on your town car? I paid. I was on offer up, and there was a guy that bought a Mustang and didn't like the aftermarket wheels that he had on it, and got another set. And to get some of his money back, he took the stock ones, and he was like, 375 bucks for a set of four. They're brand new. Literally took them off the vehicle 100 miles after I bought it. Didn't like them, and so I bought them like brand new from the guy. 375 bucks. Just I didn't even haggle with him because that was such a steal. I was like, sold. I'm trying to go through and see. My back hurts. All Fords are based on, or all cars are based on Fords anyway. You know what? There for a while, I actually thought that because a lot of the body styles would look just like a Ford knockoff or something like that. But then, and then when you look back into the history of auto manufacturing in general, what did they say? Henry Ford was the original one to start the assembly line type building of cars. He was the original inventor with other people's helps, but he's the one that actually created it, and a lot of the stuff started to mimic that. Yeah, so that was part of the thing. Jonathan said, I'm gonna make John one of my. He's always on here. Let me see. I have to probably scroll down too far. The next time Jonathan says something, I'm gonna make him one of the moderators here. He's always on here helping us. There he is. John, you're a moderator on the channel now. I appreciate your help, man. You're always here, so I always need people that are gonna be here. Um, what's up, Dented Robot? I'm interested in a 2000 to 2005 Lincoln Continental or Lincoln Town Car Continental. What's your advice on them? Make sure exhaust manifolds are good when you inspect it. Make sure that the reseal has been done inside the fresh air inlet area where they re-silicone underneath the lower tray. I have videos on all that stuff and actually how to do it. Make sure that you check the passenger side floor from front all the way to back, and also the driver's side floor, but more emphasis on the passenger side floor. And look at the feet where they mount to the actual bottom of the floor. Make sure they're not all rotted out and rusted, because you can tell water's been going through there from it leaking in that cowl area. Ooh. Look up underneath the dash and see if there's been an updated lighting control module. Some of them needed it, some of them didn't. My lighting works perfectly fine, and I've never had mine done at all. Trying to think of what else, like major problem-wise. Look at the front of the intake manifold where the aluminum runner goes from one side to the other, and make sure there's no corrosion buildup around that aluminum runner where it actually mates with the plastic, or where it sits up next to the plastic, and there's no fresh fluid around that, because fluid will drop out of that runner and it will run on top of the head, and sometimes it'll follow down the head and it'll actually fill up the spark plug holes and stuff with coolant as well. And then take a real nice bright flashlight with you and look down underneath the plastic intake, because that tube that goes through the valley and comes out the back, it's got nothing but just a little tiny O-ring that goes into the front of the motor, and it will actually rot out in there, and it'll actually leak down to the middle of the intake manifold. Just check all that, make sure it's real good. If you get a vehicle like mine where you can still see, you might see rust color, but it's not like rusted falling apart, where you can still see the studs, the shape of the nut, and nothing's flaking off, nothing's building. You can still see the runner. Yeah, maybe it has a little oxidation on the aluminum, like the surface of it, but it doesn't have any buildup around where it mates. Nothing's lifting. If you can find a vehicle like that, that's a steal right away. I mean, it's just buy it. Like when you look at my motor, and you're like, damn, this thing's like brand new. There's nothing wrong with this thing. It's because I made it that way. I wanted to make sure if I ever do get rid of that vehicle, which I don't plan on it, that when somebody else buys that vehicle, they get the same, if not better quality. It's much better than the way I bought it, but I wanted everything to be perfect in that vehicle. And then when you do buy it, run an extra ground strap from the bottom of the alternator over to the battery. It cuts down on some of that electrolysis in the coolant, and it really adds an additional ground to the motor that makes the car overall pretty happy. And then consider swapping everything over to an LED setup. It's much easier on the vehicle and the charging system. You don't get, when you get in the car, you've had a door open for a while and you got a kid in the car with you, and then they put their hand up by the dome light. It's not as hot. If they touch the plastic or something, it won't burn them like it will with the regular old lights. They just get way too hot. I do have a video already on what to check out on the Lincolns. Let's see. The timing chain thing, you know, honestly, I've seen a lot of Panther platform cars with 100,000+ miles on it that's never had timing chains. And I know that's something that people say to look for, but I've never seen a single Panther platform car that has been to my shop that has ever needed timing chains, or I've never had one that I've come across that's even had them to where it's affected the vehicle. Mine's never had timing chains. It's 238,000 miles on that, and it's only been serviced at the dealer. I've got the complete service history on that vehicle, and it's never had a single timing set put in it. This guy changed the oil in this car every 3,000 miles and kept up on every single thing that needed to be done and got taken care of with this car, and he never touched anything inside that motor. Um, so they actually have, you know, a delete kit for the air suspension on the Panther platform cars. It's pretty easy to install, but the parts for the air suspension are so cheap now, I don't even know why people are trying to delete them. You can go online, you can just do a basic search on here, and you can find 2 bags for like 118 bucks or something like that for the rear. And then the compressor, you can find the compressor as low as like $150 now, but they haven't updated. Another guy made a different style compressor that works with the Panther platform cars that's supposed to be even more robust and doesn't have nowhere near the problems, and it's like a $225 compressor. Why even buy the delete kit? Just fix it now. It's not even worth trying to delete anything when the airbag prices are just as cheap as the delete kit is now. Yeah, they have. Blue Ghost says, do Fords today use high pressure fuel pumps like the GM and Chryslers? I don't like those, especially leaks into the oil. They do. That was one of the, on one of the F-150s, that's one of the things that they would have you look at there for a couple years, is they wanted you to see if the oil level was rising, did it smell like fuel, and if it was, you had to change out the high pressure pump and flush out the motor, or not just change the oil, not flush out the motor, but change the oil. And I had a couple of them where that did happen. Basically, one of the ways that you can determine whether or not it's a high pressure pump issue or it's a low pressure pump is drivability. You could have, you know, key on, I don't hear the low pressure pump kick on at all, or the main pump, it's not kicking on at all. But when I start the vehicle, it's running, but it's running rough, and it almost acts like it has no power. That's because that high pressure pump was what's actually pulling the fuel through the system, through the low pressure pump, and it's starving itself because it's using up everything that it has to keep the vehicle going. And you can actually have a vehicle run on a high pressure pump but no low pressure pump, because it pulls enough vacuum on that system if the fuel's still there and primed to where it'll siphon it through, but you'll have drivability concerns. What's wrong with the transmission on the Focus? Oh, I don't know how to do all that, because I know there's some programming that has to be done through the computer. I'm not sure. I've never done that with the airbags on the P71. So I bought my town car for $1,500, but I told the dealership that's what I was going to pay, and I was going to pay no more. What's going on, UK? Wiggles, like the name. How'd you come up with that name, Wiggles? Yeah, I bought my town car for $1,500 at the dealership. An old man traded it in. He wanted something that he could slide into instead of sit down in, and he ended up trading that town car in on an edge, and it set in the back of the parking lot for like 3 weeks, and I kept watching it and kept watching it. I went up there and I said, "What are you guys doing with that car?" And they said, "We're going to send it to the auction." I said, "No, you're not sending that car to the auction. I'll buy that car." "Well, what do you think it's worth?" It's worth about 1,500 bucks. And then the assistant sales manager was standing right there, and he looked at me and he said, "It'll bring 5 grand in auction. They always bring around 3,500 to 5 grand in auction. We're just not going to get that here on the lot." And I was like, "Well, I mean, you are you telling me the mechanic that deals with this stuff all the time, that has a YouTube channel that talks about these cars all the time?" And at the time, he didn't really know anything about the YouTube channel, and I was like, "I'll give you 1,500 bucks, and I'll walk tomorrow morning when I come in. We're not going to talk about this. I'm not bargaining with you. I'm not doing anything. I'll give you $1,500 for that car because I know you didn't give anything for it, and at least you'll make your money and stuff. And then by the time I walk out of here, hell, it'll be around $2,000 with all the fees and taxes and stuff like that. So 1,500 bucks is what I'm giving you, and I'm walking away." So I walked out of the conversation. Literally walked right out of the conversation. Didn't even give him an option to talk to me. I came back the next morning, and when I came back the next morning, I told him, I was like, "Well, here's that money. You want it or not?" "Yeah, yeah, I'll take the money because we don't know if it's actually going to turn, $4,000 or $5,000 in auction." I said, "Well, you don't have to guess because here's $1,500 right now, and you're helping out an employee." And he was like, "Yeah, you're right. Just go ahead, sell him the car." So $2,200 with plates and taxes and the new dock fee and all this other crap that Illinois came up with this year because everything's freaking doubled, and pack fee and all this other junk. And I walked away with it. I knew I would find another one. I knew I would find another deal, and I was like, you're either gonna do it on my terms, or we're not. We're not gonna work. We're not gonna deal together. And then, if you guys remember, what is it, 6, 7 months ago, the police commander's car came in, and it's a 2010 P71, and he traded it in on a newer cop car. He was able to keep his cop car with 45,000 miles. All I had to do was reseal the holes in the roof because they took the antennas off the cop car, and I resealed those holes with little plugs and stuff, and put it out on the lot. A guy from Tennessee drove up. They were asking $11,000 for that car because there was nothing wrong with that car. And a guy from Tennessee drove up, Kentucky, drove up and paid $10,500 for that car and took it back to Kentucky. 45,000 mile Crown Vic, and a lot of people were like, "God, that car's not worth the $11,000. You guys are asking. You guys are robbers and all this." As soon as the dude seen it on the internet, he called up and haggled with them a little bit over the phone and sealed right away. You go on the internet now and you see those cars with 40,000 miles on it, and they sell all day for $11,000 to $13,000. There's town cars and Grand Marquis and Crown Vics I see all the time on OfferUp at other like independent, like the small dealers, and they're 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 miles on them, and they still want between $10,000 and $13,000 for them. And that's what Jonathan just said. That's the key point. He said that's the thing. You don't have to let others decide the vehicle you buy. There will always be other deals if you're patient. And that's why I said, I'll walk right now, man. There's too many of these things still around. You don't have to deal with me. I'll find another one where somebody's given a great deal. And I found several since then that I wish I didn't have the Dodge, and I wish I didn't have the Thunderbird, because I've seen several people 80,000, 90,000 miles selling Crown Vics and town cars for like 3,500 bucks, $4,000 that are just in phenomenal shape. They're all over the place. It's absolutely okay to pay. Let me just give you a situation. A couple years ago, Vitaly Kaufman, um, he bought his town car. I think his car is either a '06 or '07. It's the same body style as mine, with I think 80 some thousand miles on it, and he paid like 7 or 8 grand for his. They still go if it's in great shape. Yes, do it, but that's only if it's in great shape. That's the top tier pay for that car at private party. So I wouldn't go buy a Lincoln Town car you know, with 100,000 miles for $7,000, unless it was perfect. Just like I just did that Signature L not too long ago at the dealership. It was a Signature L Gold Trim Edition with a THX audio system, the heated seats all the way around, the sunroof, and all that stuff. That is a $7,000 car in okay condition. A regular town car like a Signature or just a regular Executive in perfect condition at 100,000 miles will sell for about $6,500 to about $7,500. In good condition, not perfect condition, but just good condition, you're talking probably somewhere around $5,500. And okay condition, you're in the ballpark about $3,500, $4,500, and then you're just in poor condition, you could pick them up for $500 to $1,000 all the time. Yeah, see, like Ryan said, his 04 Ultimate, no rust on the body or frame. It's very clean, paid $6,000. See, something like that, you're going to pay $6,000, $7,000 for. OfferUp is just an app. It's called OfferUp, and you can either... So here's the situation last night. The gentleman's been after me for quite some time now to ask some questions about his wife's escape, and I think she's got like a 2016, 2017 Escape somewhere in there, 1.5 liter EcoBoost, 140,000 miles on it. And he said every once in a while they would get some kind of warning message and would shut down saying start system fault. And eventually, after dying a few times, they put a battery in it. Putting a battery in it and messing with the cables, the little fuse pack and stuff on the front of the battery box on the Escapes, something happened. Something got touched, something got blown. They don't know the situation. He calls me up as I'm leaving my shop last night, and we're talking on the phone, and I don't want to have the noise in the background, so I'm literally sitting in the parking. COVID check. I'm good. Good. COVID's good. Anyway, I'm sitting in the parking lot, and we're talking about all the situations. Telling me a little bit about himself. I'm telling him a little bit about myself. He hadn't been on the channel in a while. Thank you. He hasn't been on the channel in a while to kind of keep up with everything that's going on. And he's telling me about this Escape. Telling me all the things he's done to it. And he says, it won't start, man. Stuck in the driveway. Won't start. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks. And so I says, hey, this is what I want you to do. It's odd that you're not getting mileage to empty anymore. That's weird. It's like something's missing there. Usually when you key on, it'll say how many miles to empty. There's information. It's all kinds of stuff there. But this time he didn't have that. There was information missing. Let's just keep it like that. That would normally be there. So that was a red flag to me right away. Is something is there's no input somewhere, and that's a huge issue to me. Before anything, before the no start issue, before any of that, there's something missing in input somewhere. So that should be the first thing that we look after. But what I want you to do is there's two grounds. If you open the hood, open, what do they call it, the bonnet? Open the bonnet and look over to the right. And on the fender side, the driver fender side, down on the sheet metal that goes next to the motor, there's two grounds right there. Those grounds need to be removed, cleaned, and put back together because one of those grounds goes directly to the starter and it needs to be clean. It really needs to be clean. I've had situations where I've got done rebuilding a motor and then go to start the vehicle and it not want to start, and then get out and look at everything, look at all my connections, and like, damn it, I didn't tighten that thing down all the way. And then reach down there with like an 8 mil or a 10 mil, depending on which one it is, and just ratchet it, tighten it down, vehicle fires right up. And that's the main ground that goes over to the starter. So clean those up real quick, and then let's talk. And we start talking about all the fuses and mega fuses and stuff that he changed and stuff like that. And hell, man, we're on the phone for almost an hour and 45 minutes at this point, just while he's doing his work, and I'm still sitting there listening to him talk and stuff like that, just trying to be there for him, just to comfort him, just to have that security that I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. You're good. I'm here with you, man. We're living through this moment together. And while he's doing his work and his cleaning and everything and tightening everything up, he kept reassuring me, "Hey, I'm here. I'm doing the work. You know, thanks for being here and stuff like that. I'm sorry I'm keeping you on the phone and stuff." You can just tell, you can hear it in his voice that he was just really appreciative that I was there to sit with him through this whole thing and diagnose this with him. And he got everything cleaned and bolted up. Still the same message. Still the same message. And he said, "Man, when I would hook up Forescan and I just can't communicate. I get a green light letting me know that I'm communicating. I mean, the connection's good, but I get nothing showing me that I'm actually being able to communicate with the computer. It won't let me communicate with it. It just says that something is not right." And turn the vehicle key on is what it says. And I said, "You're missing something here, man. You are missing something. If a computer ever tells you that it's got good connection, but it's telling you to still turn the vehicle on even though the vehicle's turned on, you're missing something. Something's broken, something's not connected, something's not in the right spot. There's something not right here." And that computer, if you have an up-to-date program and that OBD Links EX connection is good, you should be communicating right now. And he was like, "Yeah, but I'm not." And I was like, "You know what? You know, if it's a situation like this and you can't figure it out, a lot of times it's not up to you at this point. If you do have an actual communication problem and it's not in something that you did and you've already double-checked and triple-checked everything that you did, this may be something that has to go to a dealership, because we can pick up on this stuff and find it right away because of how much we've actually been through this just by following a manufacturer's troubleshooting chart." And he was thinking about, you know, he was almost on the verge of saying maybe I should just have it towed to the dealer because I've been messing with it too long. And you know, I'm kind of at that point now where that may be where I have to go. But then we check fuses and stuff, or we check connections and things one more time. So I said, why don't you check the fuse box and look for a PCM relay, PCM fuse, anything that has to do with a fuse or a module that deals with communication and something powering up. And so he goes out and gets his big maintenance book and stuff for his vehicle, and he's looking through it, and I said, no, stop with the maintenance book. Put the maintenance book down. Get the book out of the car, the owner's manual, and look at about page 275 to 325. It's usually in that section somewhere in one of the books, more towards the back. It'll have your relay layout. It'll have your fuse layout. Open that up. And when he sends me pictures, he says, "Okay, I've identified where the PCM fuse is supposed to be, but there's something weird because it's showing that there's nothing there, but I don't know if," and then there's nothing in this other spot. It says it's the blower motor fuse. I said, "Wait a second, stop what you're doing right now. Don't touch anything. Go in the vehicle, turn the blower motor on. Let me know if the blower motor actually works right now, because I think I know what you did." So he goes in the vehicle and he turns the blower motor on. He says, "No, the blower motor doesn't work at all." And then I see this picture that he sends me. The double prong is here, and the double prong is here. This is a single prong, and this is a single prong. So when he was messing with his stuff inside his fuse box, he put that fuse there, and he put that fuse there. I said, swap them back over. Put your 40 back where it goes on the double prong, and put the 30 back on the double prong. When you pull those fuses out, let me see what's underneath there. And sure enough, they were both single prongs. He had put the fuses back in the wrong slot, and this whole time, he was chasing something that he kind of partially created. The mega fuse was probably blown that was causing the no start issue or starting to have an issue, and that's what led him into replacing the battery and all this stuff. But then when he was actually in there doing everything, he took the 40 amp and put it back in the blower motor, and the 30 amp and put it back in the 30 amp slot, and all of a sudden he heard things start clicking in the car when he put that 30 amp back in the PCM relay slot. Mind you, this time we've been on the phone for almost 2 hours talking about this, trying to troubleshoot this thing, and a little bit about ourselves in the beginning. And then he pulls his vehicle up, puts the jumper cables and stuff on it from his Tahoe over to the Escape because the battery's starting to run low. Gives it a few minutes while we're talking and stuff on the phone, and then gives me the audible, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try to start it. Vehicle starts right up. Computer communicates, clears all the codes. I walk him through how to do the BMS reset, battery monitor reset, so he can do that while he's there, clear all the codes out of it, and get a nice fresh drive cycle to see if any fresh codes come up instead of all that junk that may have been set. And then we start talking about the key code for the door. And I said, you can actually get that through ForeScan as well. ForeScan will actually tell you what the security code is for the vehicle also. But then when he's in there looking for ForeScan, I said, hey, also over in the glove box in the owner's manual, the pamphlet, they usually take that key code card and stick it inside that pamphlet. So you probably have that key code card in there, you just never knew you had it in there. So he says, wait a second, let me go over and check. He starts fishing through his owner's stuff, like the pamphlet of information, and sure enough, there's the key code card to get in the door access code. So, there you go, bud. His wife's all happy and stuff in the background, the background, and she's ecstatic to have her vehicle back, and you can just tell the relief, the amount of energy and the happiness in his voice, and how emotional he got there for a second when everything came together. And it's nice being able to help somebody. It's nice being able to work through a problem with somebody, even though it did take a lot of time, and I ended up getting in trouble because I missed an important meeting last night, or an event that I really didn't know that I was supposed to be at, to be honest with you. And the girlfriend wasn't happy with me at all. But I didn't really know that I was supposed to be going to anything. But I got the guy back on the road, and he's doing good now. So it's part of the reason why I do what I do. All the haters come here and they like to talk a lot of trash and stuff like that, but yet they don't put the time into people like I do. That's what I tell people all the time. When you do what I do, and you take on the workload that I do, and you become a content creator like I do, and you care about people like I do, then you can tell me. Then you have a say. Then you can be my director on the channel. But until then, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm gloating a little bit, there's not a damn asshole on the internet that cares about people as much as I do. I may be a jerk, but I do sincerely care about the fellow man. I do care, and I do want people to be taken care of, and I don't need to be paid for it every time. What is a actuator power source circuit malfunction? I don't know, what is it for? What are we working on? Actuator power source circuit malfunction? As far as I'm concerned, it seems like you have power missing somewhere, or the actuator is internally shorted. Well, it sounds to me like you're missing power, from what I understand. Actuator power circuit malfunction. A lot of the older stuff I haven't dug into in a while, and when you look on PTS for a lot of the older information, it's very vague. It's very bad. When I look at what the guys back in the day used to have to look at, I look at that stuff and I'm like, man, they made such terrible diagrams and stuff. I thought the diagrams and the troubleshooting was bad now. Back then, it was really bad. What's the opinion on the new? It's a good, the 1.5 liter EcoBoost, the new Dragon engine. Seems to be a pretty good engine. We've only had one motor come in so far where the front cover was leaking and had to reseal it. That was it. But that's a motor that's beat every single day by a company that has workers in them running them. And it's less than a year old. It already had like 28,000 miles on it, and they run this every single day. Thanks, Red Wave. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It could be missing power for the actuator. But if it's just a simple 12 volt on, why not just run power yourself and troubleshoot it that way? Actually, just back probe that wire and run 12 volts to it, or just overlay it and see if that's the case. And see, if you would have bought one of those power probes, you could have just gave it power manually. The ones that I had up here on sale, you could just go to it and give it power and let the ground side take care of it, and see if it worked that way. Are you trying to troubleshoot the EGR? Is that what it is? What's the actuator for? Is what I'm getting at. We still don't even know what it's for. Is it EGR? Is it? How you like that Bronco Sport? A lot of people like it. I see a lot of people on that damn interstate in that thing driving them like they're race cars. They get in them and they're gone. Like, slow down, man, because you're going to have another damn block problem. Not literally, but I'm just saying. You don't want to be like the last one you traded in. Slow the hell down in that thing. You ain't Tony Stewart. Oh, good old Scotty Kilmer. Come on, you know he's good. He's the smartest mechanic on the internet. So there's quite a few TSBs, Josh, out on that Bronco Sport. There's quite a few TSBs so far, out on little things like lighting issues, or this plastic trim making noise or something like that. But there's nothing out on motors or transmissions yet. So far. Is the 3.0 F-150 diesel any good? Can I not answer that question here? We never see them. We never get to work on them. But from day one, right out of the factory, before it even got to the damn dealership, there was a technical service bulletin put out for replacing the EGR cooler on the 3-liter F-150 because of internal leaks. Can we not ask questions about that here? I've seen a couple of them come in where guys say they have no issues. The problem is, anytime you buy a diesel, people have a tendency to let stuff idle, and it's not a good idea. How hard would it be to do long tube headers? I don't know. I'm assuming the upper bung would be relocated in the long tube header port, but then you'd have to worry about having the exhaust custom made and everything for you. I don't think it would be hard. It'd be getting the manifolds and the studs out to get there. I mean, it's definitely a better bet than factory manifolds, that's for sure. Just gives me the code P1127. It started doing it when I put LED headlight switch ballast in. Yeah, but what does P1127 mean? Did you look it up yet and to see where it's pointing you? Yeah, when I read, even for my town car, when I read all the TSBs and SSMs that were out for the old Crown Vics and the Gray Marquis, the town cars, I was like, what the hell is this? There's a boatload of SSMs and TSBs and stuff out on these cars, and we're talking today like All of a sudden, all these cars got so much better. There was a ton of stuff back out then, or out back then, that a lot of people didn't know about. I have like literally booklets upon booklets upon booklets of stuff that was happening to those cars back then that nobody spoke about. It was just the motors and transmissions were just reliable. People talk trash about the 4R70W, saying it's a 4-speed that can't handle anything. Yeah, but mine's got 231,000 miles on it, and it literally is no discoloration to the fluid, no nothing at all. It's still the original transmission. When you take care of those motors and transmissions, they just lasted. It didn't matter. So Mark, you are right. If you read TSBs for any 5-year-old vehicle you own, they'll scare you to death. That is absolutely correct. 70% of the vehicles in the UK are diesels. Yeah. You know, and that's another thing I didn't understand either, is they would talk about how diesels are so um, hard on the environment and the atmosphere and stuff like that. But when you actually go through automotive school and you start learning the science behind fuels and all this other stuff and how the vehicles work, they teach you that the molecules in diesel exhaust emissions in general, it's so heavy, it's so dense, that by the time it makes it so many hundreds of feet up in the air, it falls right back to the ground anyway. It doesn't even really have time to make it to the atmosphere. I got them from the Mac air hammer bits I got from the Mac dealer, the distributor. One more week of dealer life for you. What are you doing? You're quitting? Are you leaving? Are you getting out of the dog and pony show? Charlotte, hello. How are you? Good morning. Oh yeah, they have them on the truck. It's a newer thing. He just came out with it. The Mac dealer just showed us that well, a couple weeks ago. No, no, it wasn't. It was like a month. Maybe it was more like two months ago. And when he came in, I said, "What's that bag of those air hammer bits in there? I'm always needing air hammer bits." And he said, "It's weird because they came out with this with a lot of the pickle fork guys and guys that were trying to jar ball joints and stuff loose. You could take that air hammer, the end with the cup on it, and set it right over the end of the ball joint and just jar that thing right the hell out of there, and it would just pop right out, and they wouldn't destroy anything." Would I recommend Forescan? Absolutely. Forescan, there's so much stuff you can do with Forescan that you can't do with IDS, but then there's a lot of stuff with IDS that you can do that you can't do with Forescan. Uh, I've I've talked to him before. I've talked to Brian, and we've chatted. He's a busy guy, man. He's running multiple companies and stuff like that. It's not just what you see on the internet. He's actually a very busy guy. I think my truck has the 4R70W2, and it's still kicking with 200,000 miles. I appreciate that. From one dealership technician to another, I think you're putting out great content helping others. It's a great thing. I like the fact that you're straightforward and to the point. Well, here's the thing is, I got to a point where I wasn't scared to say stuff, and I got to a point where I wasn't scared to lose my job because of being honest. There's no dealership that should fire a technician because they're being honest and helping the public. Not only does that drive-in business, it actually makes people more confident in the ability of things of technicians being honest with them. If the front end's not going to let us talk to the customers, 9 times out of 10 we can sell the product, we can sell the service better than the actual service writers themselves anyway. Then why not? You know how many? I'd like to create a web base, or not a web base, but a series of videos to actually teach service writers on how to approach the customer appropriately. For one, don't BS them. Tell them exactly what's wrong with the vehicle. Tell them exactly what they need and they can get by without doing right now because it's not a safety concern. And teach them and be straight with them. Stop trying to. You're going to get more sales from being honest than you are trying to sell a bunch of stuff that doesn't need to be sold. You know, a lot of people are mad, Robert. We're killing the vehicle line. A lot of people love the Fusion. A lot of people love the Taurus. They didn't want those vehicles to fall by the wayside. But unfortunately, you know, SUVs and trucks are starting to become just as efficient fuel wise. They're getting better and better and making more and more power, and they're safer. And you know, most of the economy is buying bigger vehicles now. They're not buying the small stuff that they used to buy. Thank you, Capri. Well, you're gonna like the fleet job better. It's less stress. It's more on point with exactly what needs to be done. There's no saying no to jobs getting repaired. You just do it. You just fix it. Hello, Scott. Forescan, not foreskin, Capri. Forescan. I know everybody laughs at that when I say forescan, but it's just Ford scan, and they call forescan without the D. My favorite sport to watch? I like hockey and I like basketball the best. Yeah, I hate these dogs. There's sometimes where I'm out here and these dogs are out here, and I'll say at the top of my lungs, I guess somebody can't get their damn dogs to shut up, and I'll say it out loud for the owners to hear. They don't do anything about it. They don't care about these dogs. They'll leave them out here for hours, just barking and barking and barking. The other day, I found out the actual cops came by and told them to shut the dogs up because the neighbors were complaining. Lucas Oil, are you talking about oil stabilizer? Or are you talking about just regular Lucas Oil? I don't even know what Texa is. I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks for thumbing up the video. Sometimes we'll get 250 plus people on here, and there's like 40 likes. Yet everybody's asking questions, but they don't want to thumb it up or thumb it down. Do something. My 4R75E slips a little when warming up. How many miles do you have on it, and did you keep up the servicing all the time? Love your videos. I can educate myself how to repair. I'm just trying to be better than the average Joe, man. I just want to help people. That's my whole focus here. And then you get people that come by and they're, I think you're being a little sensitive when you say that, that's what you're here for, and you don't want to hear the negativity. I don't want to hear the negativity. That's why I have the option to shut people off this channel or let them stay on this channel. If you've come here to attack me, I literally have to I have to conceal carry every single day now because of the amount of stupid stuff I have to deal with on here. A lot of times guys will come on here, oh yeah, I'm from Chicago, whatever, you're putting out terrible info. If I ever see you, this and that, try it. Try me and find out, because I guarantee you won't make it very far. And then we have owners that come on here I have a dealership in the South, and it's a small dealership, and you're giving out too much information, and I'm going to call your dealership up and tell them what you do. It. Call them up. Force my retirement early so I can start collecting unemployment and go to my hobby shop. See if I care. These threats mean nothing to me. It's almost comical because people tried this stuff and they think it's actually going to affect me. And I'm like, I welcome you to do it. You think my dealership wants to lose a good technician? They don't want to lose a good technician over some Yahoo on the internet. how much to erase the trans and learn on data on a 2013 Ford Escape. They're going to charge you about an hour to do it because they have to pull the vehicle in, they have to hook it up, they have to clear the adaptive strategy, and then them themselves, they're going to go out and slow drive it for about probably anywhere 20 to 30 minutes. So you're going to pay probably about an hour to do that. I wouldn't put Lucas Oil Stabilizer in a brand new vehicle. Lucas Oil Stabilizer doesn't do anything for an oil system other than beef up the viscosity of what's already there. Lucas Oil Stabilizer doesn't have any additives or anything in it. It's like a straight 50 weight oil. It's like if you're trying to get the motor to be a little quieter and there's like some kind of wear or something inside, then you would put that in there. But on brand new 2020 Ford Escape, don't put that stuff in there. There's no need for it. I worked at a Ford dealer one time, and a feeble 87-year-old man brought in a car just for a PM. I noticed his rack was leaking. Car still under warranty. My boss said, "Do not tell." Well, when they do stuff like that, it's because they want labor time, straight labor time, and they don't want warranty time. That rack may have only paid like 1.8 hours or 2.4 hours to replace it, to where regular actual standard warranty time for that may have been 3.5. So you make more money with regular customer pay than warranty pay. Is it right to do that? No, it's not at all. It sucks that your boss told you that, but you know that is the truth of what could happen. Probably the reason behind it. Or maybe they just didn't want to down you for something like that for a few hours when they could have done multiple other jobs and made more money. It just there could be a whole reason behind that we don't even understand. Thanks, Leaf. I appreciate it. Or Life. I don't know how to say your name. Leaf. Is it Leaf? Leaf Jensen? Or Leif? I don't know. It's Leif. Project Farm. Best line oil additive video. Yeah, I've seen his. I do like watching Project Farm. Project Farm is one creator that I do like to watch because his stuff is interesting. The amount of detail that he goes into and how he does his stuff. Now, I'll watch it when somebody recommends something and asks me, hey, can you go look at this and tell me what you think? Sure, I will. But I don't just go looking for his videos because I don't want my ideas to come from somebody else whenever I do videos. I try to keep them all from subscriber base, question base, and then in my head. If Anthony or somebody shares, or like A-Rod shares something with me, or I see a notification pop up from A-Rod on a new like F-250 or 350 or something, I will go watch those videos because those are other Ford techs that maybe I didn't learn something and I could learn something from one of their videos. So I actually will go watch their videos because I'm always looking for new stuff to learn. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being an outdated mechanic, man. I'm not. When I say stuff like that, I'm not bashing these guys. I'm just speaking facts. And a lot of guys, they don't want to hear it. You know, when I talk about these new vehicles and guys that have been in the field for 30 years and then retired, but it's been 15, 20 years since they've wrenched on anything, when I talk to them about all the stuff that I have to do every single day, they're like, hell no, I don't want nothing to do with that stuff. Because that's the time you didn't grow up in. You didn't come up in the era that I'm coming up in. So that's why 20 years from now, I'm going to be saying that to techs that are younger than me. Hell no, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to be in the same position. So people think it's like attacking older people that have been in the field, and it's not. It's speaking facts because I'm going to be there too. Best way to clean direct injection, when should service be performed? So I just did a video on a 2-liter EcoBoost engine where I dropped the manifold forward about 3 inches and I actually sprayed cleaner back in there. And a lot of cleaners have to be run under operating conditions, so they don't work like they won't work on a cold engine as good as they would if it was hot. I did this just to see what would work, and I'd like to see people start doing like an upper induction cleaning like every 10 to 15,000 miles, if not sooner, because that stuff on these engines with the amount of blow-by will really start to accumulate on those valves if you don't stay up on it all the time. You can do it yourself, literally. You can just go get a can of Seafoam synthetic for higher mileage, or you can get something like CRC or Redline, or you can get something through AMSOIL for upper induction cleaning and lubricant, and you can run that through. I would say if you can even get it in sooner than every 10,000 miles, just to try to make sure that stuff is clean. The best thing to do is try to run a catch can to mitigate some of that excess oil pullback and some of the blow by mitigation with like fuel contamination and stuff like that. You're welcome. Fake name. Oh, and thanks for the vids. You're very welcome. Is BG Platinum fuel cleaner harmful towards a 2.0 liter EcoBoost engine? Does it harm the turbo? All depends on who you want to believe. I've run plenty of fuel cleaners through EcoBoost engines and never done any damage to the turbo at all. Now, if it's a high mileage vehicle and you're trying to do this too, I probably would reconsider. Well, what are you going to do here? Let's talk about that now. What are you going to do? Are you going to let the motor keep building up junk on the valves and in the turbo and everything else and not use a cleaner and just let it go ahead and fail? Or are you going to at least make an attempt and then it fail after you make an attempt? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Where do you go with that? You know, a lot of people say, oh, you run this cleaner through it, you're going to mess up the this and that. Well, if you don't clean it, you're going to mess it up. And if you do clean it, you're going to mess it up. What are you going to do? I'd rather try cleaning it a little bit by little bit by little bit and do something than not do anything at all. Uncle Tony must carry now and keeps a loaded shotgun in whatever room he's in. That's what I do. I mean, I literally have. Never mind. I can't. I don't want to repeat. It was rebuilt around 135,000. Fluid was changed at 140. Well, you're good then. YouTube doesn't always forward threats. My channel has been catching a lot of the negative stuff without posting it. Dealers are scrambling for good techs. I've been offered many jobs since retirement. Oh yeah, they are. What's up, Jimmy? They told me 2 hours and $162. I would do it myself, but I don't have the scanner that can do it to work on my own stuff. I thought more like 30 minutes. No, it's about an hour. It's not a 2-hour job. And if they're doing 2 hours at $162, that's worth it. Because regular dealership rate is about $150. So they're not gaining much. But if you can get 2 hours worth of work out of them for $162 and they can make sure it's right, I might consider doing that. They must not be a very high labor rate. $162 I would be assuming for the labor because there's no product involved. So see you later, Bob. Been in the dealer since 95, tired of the runaround Ford policies, dealer policies, and booking hours, tired of working 60, get paid 35 to 40. That's how it is, man. You know that's how it is. You know how just like this exhaust manifold job that I'm working on right now, I've probably got 16, 17 hours tied up into this job. I'm only going to get paid 12 just because I'm trying to make sure the customer's taken care of and it's done right. But it's stuff like this that even on the customer pay side, like what do you do? What do you just keep charging them? And then they have to hound the dealership, hound you, and then get mad at you and stuff like that, even on the warranty stuff. You want me to change out an auxiliary pump and stuff on the backside of a 2020 Ford Explorer transmission. I've got 4 hours worth of work tied up into this thing, but I'm going to get paid 4 hours to do this, but I've got 9 tied up in it. How am I doing more than double the work, but I'm only getting paid half of it? So a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. So I agree with you, Fred. What's going on, Chris? Blue Ghost, you do put out great content. I just try to be honest with people, man. That's all. I just try to be honest. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to lie to people. I want people to know what's going on with their vehicle, what's going on with the product line in case something should happen. And it's been a great success since I started doing that. Since I started putting out the public service announcements, it's been helping independent shops get the cars to the dealers when they know that they shouldn't be doing the work. So that's where work has increased. Uptick in flow has increased because of that. And the independent guys say, no, 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 wait a second. I just seen a video about this the other day. That Ford boss guy was talking about some reprogram for the headlight control module and stuff on the F-150s, and that. So I don't want to take your money. It's actually covered under Ford's warranty policy or recall policy. So they get it to the dealer, and then we do it for free and get paid for it. Then the customer doesn't have to be out the money to have an independent tech look into it. He's probably not going to find the problem anyway because it's programming. Outdated mechanics still deserve respect, absolutely, because I need I need them sometimes. A lot of times, whenever I'm stumped on something, I have to go find them, and they help me work through the problems. I still crave the education that I can still get from those outdated technicians. That the younger guys come to me to learn about stuff that's going on now. I still use them to get paid. The older guys help me get paid still today from learning from them. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle that doesn't end. You know, we will at some point need each generation down. It's not a clean cut and dry. You're never going to need anybody else while you're in this career. You're always going to need somebody else. Fred, Rich, keep up the good work, filling these people in with all the info. Don't lie to the customers. Don't oversell, and you will gain following. These customers will follow you anywhere. Yep, that's what I do. I'm just honest with them. And now I have so many customers because of like being honest with them and teaching people about things that are going on in the industry and stuff, and just being honest, not bashing people or anything, that now come to the dealership and they specifically ask for me. And there's like notes on the RO that say, uh, a customer wants Rich to work on vehicle, customer wants Ford boss to work on vehicle, customer wants, states that he's seen a video, Rich needs to work on the vehicle. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm getting special notes on my as add-on lines onto my RO that they want me to work on the vehicle. So I love it, man. It kind of makes me feel good. Are some dealers under audit for doing too many of some things? Yes, absolutely. So, for instance, I didn't want to tell this story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell this story. Back in the day, I worked at a dealership where we had a technician that um, would come in and he would reseal front covers and oil pans like me and you drink water, if you drink water. But I think you get the point. And he'd pull a vehicle in and put it in one stall, and in the other stall he'd be working on something legit. But he'd be running warranty time on a vehicle, resealing a front cover, but not actually resealing a front cover, and getting paid 5.5 to 6 hours to do that. So when you do that over and over and over and over and over again, and you got that type of technician in your shop, and then all of a sudden your warranty numbers start skyrocketing, that's a huge red flag to Ford. And they'll start looking at that and like, wait a second, before such and such came to your dealership, or before something changed recently, your warranty numbers were pretty steady. You had a pretty decent steady flow of warranty numbers that looked about the same as, other dealers in your stature. But now all of a sudden things just skyrocket, and it's every week thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You're on a watch list. There's something that you're doing that is not legit, and we need to start looking into. So they could get audited for that, and it'll hit them bad, really bad. I'm just going through no comments right now so I can respond. You're right. Done old and new. Almost everything I knew from old doesn't apply to new. That's right. That's why I like working with a lot of the older guys that have been around for a while, because a lot of the stuff that I do today doesn't apply to stuff they did then. So when they need me, I'm there for them, and when I need them, they're there for me. And as we learn together. So that's why I say in my posts all the time, I'm here trying to build a community of people that are going to grow together, that are going to be there to help each other, to be able to look out for each other in multiple different parts of the manufacturing industry with automotive. And that's why I like to do this stuff. That's why I like to network and build things, because that's what I'm about. I'm not about this trashing other technicians and other dealerships and manufacturers and stuff. I don't like that. That's why you don't see me do that. It's not something I'm a part of. I have no respect for people that do that. Thanks, Wiggles. I know you just jumped off, but thank you for the super chat. I'm trying to make my way down to say morning, Dad. Old mechanics had to deal, or I thought you said steel, had to deal with subpar wiring. Oh my God, the older mechanics, the pinpoint tests, the wiring diagrams that they had to deal with were just atrocious. Just some of it not even accurate. The pinpoint test not even leading you in the right direction. A lot of the newer stuff is much better than what it used to be. But even some of the newer stuff is not like for instance, the story I always tell about the 2020 Explorers. You got plenty of pinpoint tests for the customer cars, but when it comes to the cop cars, the circuits are completely different. They're not even the same. So the pinpoint test, when you're going through these cars, you just chase your ass around and around and around and around and around, trying to figure out what to do, and they don't even take you in the right direction. PCV crank vent system on the 2-liter EcoBoost, not good. It's not good. It's really not. They're very dirty. They recirculate a lot of blow-by and oil back into the intake manifold, and running a JLT catch can, something like that, will really mitigate and help clean some of that up. But overseas, they have a different type of system than we do here in the United States. I guess overseas they have an intake manifold that has an actual nub on the bottom of it, and it has a drain back tube that goes to the oil separator on the front of the motor. So as that stuff's getting pulled back in, it's actually being drained back into the block to drain back into the oil instead of getting pulled back through the intake side, which is a phenomenal design. And why the hell Ford didn't do that here in the United States boggles my mind. Why didn't you take the 1.5, 1.6, and 2.0 and clean it up the same way that you did the one overseas? They have half the problems that we have, and they run way more efficient overseas than they do here because of the type of design of that intake manifold. It can drain back instead of getting pulled back through the intake. I'm way behind, guys, so I'm trying to catch up. Richard Page, what's up? I got a Bentley on the lift. Any advice to try and find repair info? Nope. I have no idea. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but you can still feel like that just light brisk of humidity trying to kick in, but it hasn't quite kicked in yet. I hope it doesn't. It's nice right now. Oh, 15-year-old pit bull died yesterday. Really sad and depressed. Hey, man, you're gonna get me emotional now. I don't want to get sad. After I got out of the service, I got a bully breed, and she helped me through so many rough times, and I had to put her down, and that was one of the saddest days of my life. It really was. I know how it feels, man. It sucks. It really hurts inside. It feels like there's a part of you missing, and you'll never get it back. And then you have to learn how to live life being incomplete. She was really my best friend. She was. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day as well. Do you know what happened when I break 2021 Escape and I heard high pitch sound coming when I go to the shop, they did not hear anything. You're gonna have to explain that a little bit more, James. When I brake, I think what you're saying is when you brake, like in a braking event on a 2021 Escape, I hear a high pitch sound coming from the wheels. I'm assuming you mean, but when I go to the shop, they did not hear anything. I mean, there could be a number of things. You can have a rock built up behind, or there could be a rock sitting back there behind the rotor. It could be stuck in between the the dust shield and the rotor itself, and that's where it's coming from. You can have one of the clips for the brake, the hardware, actually starting to shift sideways and rub up against the rotor sometimes. It can be more apparent sometimes when it's a moist day or a rainy day outside. These are all characteristics that probably something needs to be pulled apart, readjusted, and cleaned. That's what I would think. It is. Do I believe in changing manual transmission fluid? I believe in changing any fluid religiously, not following any manufacturer's recommendation. Always early, always clean. That's what I believe in. How often should I get the timing chain adjusted on my 2-liter EcoBoost? You really can't get it adjusted. It's when it wears out, it wears out. That's just how it is. I would say by about 90,000 miles, you need to start thinking about having it changed. It's about a 6.5, 7-hour job. Most places will charge. You gotta pull front cover and stuff, change out, the belt, get a new tensioner, have the water pump done while you're there. Just do it all at one shot. Is the new 10-speed transmissions available for the Transits? I mean, I never thought about it. I never even looked into it, so I couldn't answer that question. Are they 10 speeds, the brand new ones? I would assume that they would have the 10 speeds in them. I don't know. I wouldn't want it. You know what? Having a puppy when you're about to lose a dog, it really does help. It doesn't take everything away, but it does help a lot of people. And that's what happened with my girlfriend's dad. They lost their dog, and he ended up getting a purebred lab, the big boy here that we have, and it helped. It did help a little bit. It's raining at Talladega. Might not get to see Crash up Derby. What's up, Larry? Robert says your content is great, one of the best on YouTube. I just try to be me, man. I just try to share with you guys my life and kind of what I go through, and hopefully I can help somebody along the way. Richard said what I see nowadays is the younger guys want to find some cheat code so they don't have to put in all the years, and there's just no way around it. It's absolutely it. A lot of the younger guys see how hard some of the stuff is today, and they want all the quick fix answers, and there is none. There's sometimes you can find shortcuts, but the new generation that we have growing up today, they want easy answers for everything, and that's the hard part. Is how do you teach somebody that's young and coming up when they just want the shortcut and the trick to everything? Sometimes you have to experience the hurt before you can experience the happiness of something. Or the success of something. You have to live the suck for a little bit before you can get to the good stuff, and they don't want to do that. My trans shifts from hard from 1 to 2. It could be because you're starting to have internal issues. Remember, there's an internal filter in those, and when you start getting a vehicle that's, I want to say, 7 to 10 years old, and statistically not a very good transmission to begin with, these are the kinds of problems you have. Google doesn't have all the answers for the younger crowd, and oftentimes it's very wrong. Very wrong. Chris, share with me, then I'll share my email when this is all done and loaded. I'll put it in the comment box so you can send me an email. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate the super chat, brother. George, You're a great ambassador for honest, hardworking mechanics and techs, getting rarer and rarer because people get lazy and greedy. You know, if you want to be $100,000 a year tech in this field, get into diesel work. If you want to make big bucks in this field, you get into diesel works. It work. If you want to be $100,000 a year tech in this field, and you feel like you're gonna get into gasoline and drivability stuff, you better be at one humping, bumping shop, because it ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen unless you learn to mitigate and screw over warranty in an honest way. You ain't. It's never gonna be. You're never gonna make like that type of money. So that's why I have multiple things going on. I work at the dealership, I work at my shop, and I work, doing the YouTube thing that happens to be a success. And it is what it is. My local Honda dealer is a ghost town to me. They just did a massive rebuild that was finished just before COVID. I mean, I still go to the manuals. We still have a whole library of manuals that I go to all the time, and I reference them all the time. I'd rather look at the wiring schematic from the manual than have to sit in front of the computer, because I can sit there and study exactly what's going on, not worrying about the screen shutting down or... I wish these freaking dogs would shut up. Yeah. Jimmy said when I was at Chevy, a guy averaged 150 hours a week, audited and caught and fired. Now, you're not only going to get him fired, you're going to get the dealership in trouble too, doing stuff like that. If a mechanic doesn't know how to remove a GM window crank with a rag, then he's not my type of mechanic. If you had to win a drag race, and like, let's say, to save your life, what kind of motor you building, dude? Honestly, a lot of people wouldn't, they're not going to like my answer to this. The fastest, nastiest, best winding up motor that I've ever seen that made a ton of power is my old boss's, Fred knows, his SN95 Cobra. That 4-valve Cobra motor, with him sleeving the cylinders and everything else, oh my god. The amount of power that thing made, 1,400 horse or something like that, 1,500 horse in that little small car, was just nasty, man. I've never seen a motor, and the amount of abuse that guy put that thing through. He would destroy that thing. He would purposely just beat the living hell out of that thing, and it would run and run and run and take more boost and more boost and more spray. That thing was absolutely nasty. Let me scroll to the bottom. I missed something here. Oh, wait a second. Somebody did a super chat. Blue Ghost. Thank you. I appreciate that. I see Evan's comment right here. Why do you not open your own garage? I do have my own garage, but it's more of a hobby garage than anything. I still make money there. Don't get me wrong. Would it be okay to use intake valve cleaner twice in a row? Sure it would. Watched the documentary about the new Ford heavy-duty 10-speed transmission that's supposed to be for all their heavy-duty vehicles. Yeah, I just don't care for the 10-speed. Too many times it's hunting gears in between shifts. I'm just scrolling through comments real quick because I'm way behind. Dropkick, Carl, you helped with my cold start rattle Ford F-150. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know. Do you have any numbers on how many of the test probe you did a review on? I bought one. Oh my god, man. There was dozens of people that flooded. I mean, it was probably more than dozens of people. That probe that people bought because of my Amazon review, people have already given me feedback and said, dude, do you know how many vehicles I've already fixed with this thing? My coworker, the one that I gave away because I'm always helping him, Rob is a wealth of information. Fred knows who Rob is. And I felt, I feel for the guy because he's always helping everybody. Just like our Dan, the diesel mechanic that was there, he's always helping everybody. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go give him a gift. I gave him a power probe that I ordered because I felt like I wanted to give back to him because he's always giving to other people. And I help him too. He uses my tools and stuff sometimes, and I help him with some of the newer jobs that I've done more of. But the amount of those probes that sold was unreal. People just, the amount of feedback, even from him, I said, hey, did you end up using that power probe yet? And he said, yeah, I used it to fix my own vehicle first, and I used it on several vehicles after that. I've never had one. I absolutely love that thing. Or a circuit probe from Ansel. And he said it worked phenomenal. It works, man. It worked great. Shut the hell up. What's my opinion on wet belt setup in the Dragon engine? I don't have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. Just like the oil pump that was driven off of the 3-cylinder 1-liter in the Fiesta, disaster. Belt starts to slip, belt starts to stretch, can't drive the oil pump, motor's gone, toast. 10 hours later, new motor's in. They're so small you can almost pick it up right at the top of the motor. Put a jack stand underneath the transmission with a block of wood, unbolt the engine and everything on the top of it, and you can literally just yank the motor right out of the top of it and drop a new one in. I just honestly don't like the wet belt setup, to be honest with you. We just had there was a 13 or a 14 that came in with 197,000 miles on it, and she just started a white smoke. And I ran a couple BG engine treatments through it, the smaller ones, and most of all the white smoke went away. I think the oil control rings were starting to get stuck. So I ran that cleaner and stuff through there. I could have ran the big kit through there and got even more. And cleaned so much junk out of that. I'm going through comments right now. I'm trying to catch up. Jonathan, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping out with the channel. I appreciate it. I mean, wear pattern. That transmission learns the daily driver, and then when somebody else gets in it and drives it different, it should be smart enough to be able to mitigate some of that wear. But it does statistically learn how a driver drives, and that's how it tries to adapt. It's okay, they're just dogs. Yeah, I get it. I get that they're just dogs, but they're every time we're out here. The cops just got called on them not too long ago because it was 5:45, 5:30 in the morning. These dogs are out here and they're doing this. The neighbors all got fed up with it, and when the police came out here, they were like, "Yeah, we had multiple calls this morning at 5:30 in the morning. Your dogs should not be out here doing this stuff because they're pissing off all the neighbors, and they have no control of them. They don't even care about them." The fence is busted back here in multiple spots where it's about to come down. And when the dogs end up in this yard, when it finally does come down, I've had to take and build up piles of rocks where the holes are because the dogs try to bite my dogs over here. When that fence comes down and that full-size lab is out here, and as big as he is compared to those dogs, he's twice their size. They're like the smaller German Shepherds that are only like 60 pounds. That lab is going to hurt them. He's big and he's a bull and he's nice, but he will hurt them. And that's what I'm worried about. They don't care about him. Thanks, Nacho. Appreciate it. You have a good day too. My F-150's at the dealership waiting for cam phasers. They tell me that they're on back order. Yeah, yeah, it's hard to get parts. I mean, we've been lucky lately that we actually stocked up on cam phasers ahead of time, but there's only so much we can stock up on before we start running out again as well, and then we can't get them. So we've been able to do the last 3 jobs that came in the door pretty much right away with the cam phasers, but you know, we run out too, and we end up having to wait. If you were looking to buy a new truck in the near future, do you think the F-250 with the 6.2 6-speed would be a better option than the F-150s with their engine issues? Absolutely. I would buy a 6.2 6-speed any day over an F-150. Robert, I appreciate the super chat. Thanks, Nicholas. I appreciate it. I mean, I like manually cleaning the valves the best because it seems that that's going to be the cleanest. The chemicals do work, but they work very, very slow, and you're going to have to keep doing it. The best way to do it is drop the intake manifold, make sure the valves are shut, and clean them. Let me scroll through. Oh, there's another super chat here. I didn't see. Llama, appreciate it. Dang. Danny, look at the super chats today. Nice. They just always bark. Anytime somebody's in the backyard, those dogs are barking. They don't shut up. Super Narwhal, thank you. Have you been able to look at any people's videos for help channels? I mean, yeah, I've already put 3 shout outs up, and I've been spacing them out like every weekend, doing something not to overwhelm people. And people have sent me messages back with tons of hours increased and watch time, and subscribers have increased. One guy said, I've never had as many subscribers increase overnight as what I did. That one shout out you gave me, so I really appreciate it, man. It did help out a lot. So yeah, I've been doing it, but I don't want to overwhelm people and just do it all at one time. It's going to take a progressive, little bit by little bit by little bit. If I just dumped all those channels at one time, people would be like, what are you doing, man? We're here for the automotive content, but yet you're trying to force us to watch everybody else's stuff. So I have to do it strategically. Just be patient. It's happening. Is it normal for the 6F35 when new to shift better when not accelerating slow? Yeah, it's trying to learn. It's trying to, and also the Ford has been putting out some TSBs lately that talk about debris and contamination in between the separator plates and the valve body as well, causing some of these issues. So you have to be careful with that as well. Just because you got a new one doesn't mean that it's 100% good. You may have to end up pulling the valve body back off and then cleaning out between the separator plate and the valve body, because they say debris gets in those ports even from brand new before it's even put in a vehicle. On a 14 Fusion all-wheel drive with the 6F35, it shifts pretty hard between second and third. Is there anything I could do to help? You can try to flush it out. You can try to drop the fluid and put some fresh fluid in there, and then run it, and then do it again. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. or rebuild. That's pretty much it. There's nothing else you can really do. I would say change the fluid. Some people would say changing the fluid would make it worse, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's just a shot in the dark. What do you want to do? What years of Expedition is the best? Are you talking about the newer body style or just overall? I like the 5 liter Expedition. No. Which one do I like? The 542 valve? The 542 valve is probably my favorite Expedition, or the 4 liter. The 4 liter Expedition actually was a really good platform, but you had little problems from time to time. So I like the more square looking body style. What is that? 2010ish, 2008, 2010. The 542 valve. I really like that Expedition. That's the Expedition I like. People may have different opinions on that. Or the earlier model EcoBoost Expeditions, like the early 2012, 2011, 2013 model. I don't ever see a lot of problems with them. Even though they're EcoBoost ones, they still have plenty of power. But they all had like metal pans and stuff like that. There was no leaks and all this other stuff that's going on like these newer EcoBoosts. They still had problems, but they were still really good platforms. Let's see what this is. Ketchup mustard. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Trying to go through the messages still. Good afternoon, boss. It's nice. Yes, thank you. Thanks for being here, Jigsaw. Thanks for your videos. Very helpful. Well, thank you. Another super chat. Wow, super chats in the house today. Ford F-150 is the #1 selling truck in America. I mean, it is. It is what it is. I think it's the best looking truck of its class, but you know, they got power. They got a lot of style. They got a lot of comfort and stuff. But at the same time, they got issues. Remember that song? You got issues? I got them too. Just what do you want? Pick your poison. I change the fluid about 5 times to get it to look right. Yeah, they are very dirty transmissions. And a lot of times you have to change it over and over and over again. Have you tried that what is that Lucas additive, that trans friction modifier? Some people say that they've had luck with that. I'm not telling you to go use it, but I've seen a lot of people say that they've had a lot of good luck with that what is it, that Lucas trans additive or whatever. Some of them say that it's actually helped quite a bit. Either one, trans fluid OEM or aftermarket. I like the Valvoline, the Max. What is it? Max Force or whatever it is. The universal one. I forget the name of it now. The Valvoline stuff is really good for me. I like that. I run that in my car. Valvoline. Is it? What is it called? Max Force? It's the silver bottle with the red and black label on it. It says it can be used in almost any transmission. I love that stuff. Do you know if Ford Mustangs are supposed to have gaskets, or can I use high temp silicone RTB? I mean, you can use either, but they have gaskets. But I've seen guys use the high temp silicone and it worked just fine. It just all depends on what you want. I'd put a gasket back on it and make sure her head's cleaned up real good. Was the Expedition... Wish the Expedition was a V8 still. Yeah, so a lot of people do. The children are out. Come here. Come here. Pepe. 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 Archie. Still going through comments. What trans fluid do you put in your Dodge Trans? I don't know. Oh, my Dodge Trans? I use the Valvoline stuff. The Max Life, that's what it is. I use Valvoline Max Life, and it runs great. At first, I didn't think I could use it, but then when I called Valvoline up and they said there's nothing that Valvoline Max Life really can't go in unless it's a specific, like, high performance type transmission fluid. But I told them, I was like, well, I have uh, the V in the Ford in the town car, and then I have Dodge's transmission fluid, and they said it doesn't matter. Just put it in there, it will work. Sure enough, I put it in there, and it's like freaking brand new. It shifts great. It's Max Life. I forgot. It's not Max Force. Max Force is the international engine. So the sport mode in the vehicles, I think what it does is it makes it seem like it's actually got more power and stuff because it changes the way it shifts. But a lot of guys love sport mode better than regular driving mode because it takes away a lot of their problems. She's got to be standing here touching me. It's working good. Today was my so 1 week on. It's just so you guys know the weight loss stuff. I started the high dose vitamin D and vitamin K2 MK7 last week, and then I started with 0.6 milligrams of the Saxenda shot, Saxenda, and I lost 6 pounds this week, 6.5 pounds on the shot. It really controls your appetite and gives you a lot of energy. You wake up, you just really feel good about moving and stuff on it, but it does slow your ability to use the bathroom. And I've lost, quite a bit of weight this week. And today was the first day where I actually had to double the dose. So each week you go up 0.6 milligrams. So today I went up to 1.2 milligrams. And then next week you go up to 1.8, and then so forth and so on. What did Fred say? Fred? My opinion on fluids is put what you want in it. It's all about the maintenance intervals. If you don't maintenance it, then you better put the best in it. All the fluids are about time, longevity. Absolutely. Fred knows. Fred's been in this business for a long time. Fred's been in this business longer than me. And he's been doing a lot of the heavy duty work longer than me too. So it's all about the quality of what you put in it, for sure, but also about fluid maintenance. There's a reason why my motor looks as good as it does. There's a reason why my vehicle drives as good as it does, and I can continue to beat the hell out of it every day. I realize by me driving that vehicle the way I drive it, I need to be able to take care of it better than most people take care of their vehicles, because I'm not going to get anything out of it if I don't do that. And hell, it drives like a freaking dream, man. We can jump in that thing and go out to California right now and come right back, and it never has a single problem. And I'm talking about, I'm winding that thing out many times throughout the week, passing people 7,000 RPM. Thing is buried, and probably more like 6,000 RPM, not 7,000 RPM. That's a little excessive, but I've done it. when I'm playing around with the can shift paddle shifters and stuff on that, that vehicle's not made for that. I've got the line pressures boosted up in the transmission through the computer. I've already got everything programmed for 15% more line pressure, so it shifts nicer instead of so like slow, and it loves it. But I take care of it, and the fluids I maintain all the time. I've never seen him do this. He's pacing the yard and he's looking for something. I've never seen him track something. That's weird. They've gotten them before. Yeah, Amsoil makes good stuff for sure. Now, we did have one guy, and, you know, take it for what you want. If Anthony's on here, maybe Anthony can chime in on this. We did have one guy that was an Amsoil distributor. He was one of the mechanics at the shop, and he'd been doing this for a long time, and he ran it through his 6.2 F250. He ran it for 2 years, but instead of changing it at 25,000 miles or whatever they say you can change it at, he changed it at right. I tell everybody to trans fluid by about 40 to 50,000, so it fits right into what you say right there, 30 to 60,000. 40 to 50,000, but I'm religious with mine because of how I drive it. I beat it, so I do mine every 30. What was I saying? Oh, we had a guy that was a distributor, technician, and he ran Amsoil in his F250. And he swore by that stuff, man. He swore it. He said it was the best stuff on earth. And then Rob was telling me a story, and Rob was like, you know, he quit using Amsoil. And I said, why? And he said, well, one year we pulled his motor apart because he was starting to get some excessive noise from the valve train. And he said, when we pulled the motor apart to figure out what was going on, you should see the amount of varnish that was inside that motor. And I said, well, what was the deal with that? Still tracking something. And he said all he did was use Amsoil. Instead of running at the full 25,000 miles that they say you can run Amsoil, he said he ran it like 17 or 18,000 and then pulled the motor apart, and the motor was junk. There was so much varnish build up and build up around the piston rings and stuff in general, he said he'd never run it again. He quit using it because the interval that they give you to run it at, or that you could run it at, and with him being all highway miles, he was like, nope, never run it again. He quit running it. So, yeah, the only thing he runs Amsoil now is in his race car. He said if you run the Amsoil gear lube, when you run the car down the track with regular gear lube, and then you run a car down the track with Amsoil gear lube, you'll see it's like 250 to 300 degrees lower temperature wise than the standard stuff. So the gear oil stuff, he said he loves. He swears by it. But he said that as for the engine oil, he's not a huge fan of the engine oil anymore. I've got the Amsoil in the town car right now. I got it in the back seat. I got to go change the oil in it, and I'm gonna pull the Pennzoil Platinum Ultra out. That Pennzoil Platinum Ultra is the best stuff I've run in that car so far. The motor's so quiet, and it seems like it really likes that oil. And I ordered another Purelator Boss filter as well. I like the Purelator Boss filter the best so far. Oh, of course he used Signature. I mean, he wouldn't be a distributor and use regular oil. He used the Signature stuff. Yeah, he was a distributor for them. I mean, he ran the Signature oil and the AMSOIL filter. So he quit. Come. Now. Good girl. Come here. Good boy. Relax. 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 You don't have to be hyper all the time. Relax. Good boy. Go play with your stick. Let me check his mouth real quick. I think he's got a stick stuck in it. Come here. Let me see your mouth. Come here. Come here. You okay? You okay? It's alright. They say you're giving the camera too much attention. We need some love. I'm going to get off here in a second and play with these guys. They're out here and they really want me to play with them pretty bad. So, what did Fred said something on here? Yeah, I think the range of fluids is overrated. It's about the intervals you do. I like when a customer comes in and wants a full synthetic oil change and fall over when the bill comes. Yeah, they do it all the time. A lady came in and was like, well, I go to Jiffy Lube to get my oil change done. It's $40.50, and they put a semi-synthetic fluid in my vehicle and they change the filter and stuff for me. And I was like, oh, so you got a Champ filter? You got one of the lowest grade filters that are out there? You don't see that menu item up there? You see on the menu, it clearly says right on there, $38.75 for a semi-synthetic oil change, and you only need 5 quarts. You're less than 5 quarts in your vehicle, and you're getting a manufacturer filter. So it's cheaper for you to come to our dealership and get your oil changed than it is to go to Jiffy Lube. And she was like, I didn't know that. I thought it was more expensive. I'm like, people, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Use a lot of WD-40 on the 5/4 plugs, back off, then tighten, back off, and tighten. Oh yeah, I do not take 5/4 plugs out regular. I zip them right out. Whoop! I pull them right out. There, I'm not playing around with those things. If you sit there and try to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you will snap the plugs off. And when Ford originally first started doing all their trials and stuff like that and actually figuring out how all the stuff's done, and they started actually paying attention to what the technicians were saying, a lot of the technicians were giving them feedback saying, hey, how you're having us pull the plugs and stuff out, it ain't working. But when we actually put like an electric impact on it or a pneumatic, like small snap-on 3/8, and we just zip those suckers right out of there, they don't break. It hits them good and they just pull them right out. How did you break a wheel stud? Is it all that freaking manly lightsaber strength that you got that you just put into that stud and snapped it off? Yep, this is what Fred said right here. Key is get the engine hot as you can and go down as you can, and go to town. Don't stop. Use an impact, get them out, don't stop. Yeah, the only ones I've ever really had a problem with is the rear ones as well. Get the engine hot, pull them right out. Don't play around with it, just get them out. I learned that at an actual Ford seminar that I was at class, and the dealership sent me off to it was like a drivability, or not drivability, some kind of advanced electrical diagnostics or whatever that they send the technicians to. And when I was there, the instructors were talking about that. They were talking about how they don't use a conventional method anymore. They actually recommend putting an impact on it and pulling them right out. But you got to be careful with that anti-seize though. I actually had somebody, Fred knows who, Fred knows the name. I'm not going to say who on here, but Fred, another technician had worked on a vehicle and put a set of plugs in a, was it a 6.2? It was a 6.2, and they used anti-seize, and they put too much anti-seize on it, and that anti-seize got down on like the electrode and stuff, the ground strap. It got down on the bottom of it when they were going to put it in and tighten everything up, and the truck came back misfiring because it got hot and it bled down onto the end of it, and it was messing up how the vehicle was firing. I pulled the plug out when it came back to the shop, and I cleaned everything off real nice and just put a smear, just a real light smear on it of anti-seize on it after I cleaned everything up, shoved it back in, fired the vehicle back up, and the misfire was gone. People go overboard with that anti-seize and they don't realize a little bit goes a long way. Where can you get a new 2018 1.5 short block for the Ford Fusion? The only place I know of that I try to get anything from, honestly, is from the dealership. I'm not used to ordering parts like that anywhere else. And the dealer can get you one, but you're going to pay more money. Alright guys, 2 hours in. I said I wouldn't be on here that long. I've been on here that long. I want to hang out with these dogs for a little bit, play in the backyard with them, get them some exercise here, and go back in and hang out with the family. I hope I've answered some stuff. I know I didn't get to everything today, but I appreciate y'all. Fred, thanks for being here as always, man. All the moderators on the channel, thank you for keeping things clean. Thanks everybody for the support and all the amazing super chats today. That was awesome. Thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed my story with the whole situation last night and getting that guy back on the road and getting his vehicle started. It's the stuff we do to help people out. Thanks guys. Have fun. Have a great weekend, or the rest of your weekend I should say, and be blessed as always.